I think I saw a study that said that suicide is either the leading cause or the second leading cause of death for Black men. Can you speak to why you feel like that's happening with us specifically?
Yeah. So we know that there is a stigma when it comes to Black men's mental health, right? And so even like just Black men expressing their emotions.
Right.
And because of that, right, you're taught to keep it in, be a man, be strong, and you are avoiding your emotions and your feelings. And when we avoid, it exacerbates anxiety and depression, right? And anxiety and depression is what leads to suicide, internal pain, internal distress, not knowing where to turn, because if I decide to turn, I'm not sure if I'm going to get the help or the resource that I need.
Right.
Or even being able to put language to that to even know, what am I experiencing? What is this?
Right.
Yeah.
So can we, now we get into the conversation. Can we talk about,
Let's go.
Yeah, let's talk about the language, right?
Yeah.
Because I think for the longest time, I didn't have the language to actually be able to articulate what it was that I was experiencing. So I would experience anxiety and I wouldn't know that it was anxiety. I would just be like, yo, why am I sweating? Or like, why am I nervous?
Yeah.
Not knowing that I have social anxiety and I don't really like being around large crowds of people.
Right.
Right, because I've dealt with certain situations where growing up in New York, I've been robbed. I've been in situations where I almost got jumped, right? So like, I don't really like being around people because to me, when you're around a large amount of people, like there's a lot of random things that can happen and my mind starts going crazy. I'm like, yo, this person could be thinking this, they could want to do this, they could want to do that. And that creates this like level of social anxiety. So to get back to my question, how do we start to develop this language so that we can be able to articulate what it is that we're experiencing? And why does that even matter? Because I know there's some Black men right now that's thinking like, why does it even matter if I have the language to express what I'm feeling?
Well, it makes all the difference for you to have the language, because when you don't have the language, you just think that you are the only one experiencing it. You're not able to make sense of it, right? And you just want this pain to go away, right? And what is that? When we want the pain to go away, we actually remove ourselves, suicide. We actually isolate, right? And so when we don't have the language, it exacerbates ignorance, right? For lack thereof, the lack of the knowledge to understand what exactly is happening to us. So it's really important. What you just actually described, though, when you're talking about walking in the streets, you've been robbed, you've been jumped, right? And so your brain sees a lot of people and it wants to be able to escape.
Right.
You just talked about the relationship between the nervous system and the brain, right? So your nervous system is impacted. It's always receiving information and data. And so past experiences inform our present moments. And so that nervous system perceives a threat, even though there is no threat, but it remembers the threat from when I was walking down the block and I got jumped, or I saw a group of people and I was unsafe because I got robbed, right? And the brain tells a story. We're not safe when there's a lot of people around. And so we really have to be able to tune in and reflect what's coming up in our bodies. A lot of people just think that it's a cognition thing, right? A thought thing. If I change the way I think, everything else will fall into place. But it's not only the way I change the way that I think, right? We change that story, but it also is understanding how I'm feeling. Yeah.
You in your bag right now.
What, am I in my bag? Okay.
You in your duffel right now. I ain't gonna lie.
You took me there.
No, listen. I really like that because that really just helped a lot. I really like having these episodes. I was just thinking about this before. I'm gonna go off on a tangent a little bit, but I was just thinking about this before we had the episode. I was thinking to myself, like, I really have the honor of being able to like sit down with professionals like yourself and have these like in-depth conversations about some of the things that may be impacting other Black men, but oftentimes impact me. And it gives me almost like, for lack of better words, a free therapy session. Because that is something that you would mention that in a session with somebody.
Yeah,
and
to educate
like,
them.
Exactly, and that's a revelation. I think that's what's so powerful about the platform, because people get to kind of have like, not necessarily a session, but they get to kind of get the insight of a session from a podcast episode. So I appreciate you sharing all that, because there may be a Black man right now that's like trying to rationalize, why does he feel that way? Like I just mentioned, right? And you saying that helps him to think, okay, I have something going on in my body, but yes, I can change the way I think about it, but I also have to understand, how do I feel about it? Right.
And how do I want to feel? So asking the right questions is really important. So again, the language, right? Us being able to speak about it, you being able to have this platform, being able to have conversations that are open allow Black men to have the language of what's coming up in their bodies and their minds.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. One of the things about suicide that I read in a book, I can't remember the name of the book, man. But I read in a book that there's like different levels or stages of suicide, right? And there's like suicide ideations, and then there's like if you have a plan and all that. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Can you break down like what that is so that people can understand?
Right. So actually, suicide ideations is having the thoughts of, maybe I want to be here, maybe I don't want to be here, right? Maybe I could do something, maybe I won't do something, but if I did do something, maybe this feeling would go away, right? Just the idea, the thought about it. And then suicidality is actually completion of it, right? And to be suicidal is, I have a plan, I am going to do this, I know exactly how I'm going to do this, I am leaving notes, I know that there's going to be an action. So those are the different, right? We go from the ideation to suicidality. In between is when someone is suicidal.